In this video, we're going to go over a section of your independent practice just to make sure that you understand what you're doing. If you have any questions during this video, you can pause it and raise your hand and I will come over. Please make sure that you actually tore out the star chart in the back of your volume 1 or 2. It's in both of them, so it really doesn't matter which one you get. Please make sure that you've glued it down with this blank section here, and you have glued it on page 2. Star chart is your actual title. So you need to make sure you have this page out. It's called quarts and gallons. More specifically, I need you to pay attention to the ratio that it's actually talking about up here, because this is the ratio that's going to help us fill out our table, which will then help us fill out our graph. Because without filling out the table, I can't fill out my graph. So now we're going to look here at the relationship table. Now, in order for me to fill out this relationship table, I actually have to know what my ratio was. Well, this is telling me quarts to gallons. That's the way it wants to go. It wants quarts first, and it wants gallons second. You can tell by the graph when you actually look at it which one should be first and which one should be second as well. Our process is also called the rule. It's kind of like, what's my rule? We also learned that scale factor. The scale factor is what allows us to scale down or scale up a ratio or rate or any fraction really, so that we can make it go all the way down to its simplest form, or we can build to a higher equivalent ratio, rate, or fraction. So here we have quarts to gallons. Well, if I look at my star chart, I can find that 4 quarts will equal 1 gallon. So I start with that. 4 quarts will equal 1 gallon. Notice how I had a 0 here. This is saying that if I have 0 quarts, how many gallons am I going to have? Well, if I have 0 quarts, I'm going to have 0 gallons. If I have 4 quarts, I'm going to have 1 gallon. If I have 8 quarts, I'm going to have 2 gallons. And if I have 12 quarts, I'm going to have 3 gallons. So there's my ratio table. Very simple, very quick. Now we need to pay attention to what our scale factor was, or what our process was going down, so that I could go back and forth between quarts to gallons. If I go from 4 to 1, I'm decreasing, which means I'm dividing or I'm multiplying by a fraction. Remember, scale factor is multiplying by the reciprocal of what you're dividing. Well, if I'm dividing by 4, I'm also multiplying by 1/4. So now I need to figure out, is that the rule for my whole column? 8 divided by 4, will that give me 2? Yes, it will. So if it'll give me 2 by dividing by 4, it'll also give me 2 if I multiply by 1/4. So this holds true. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. Yes, it does. So 12 divided by 4 will give me 3. Then that means 12 times 1/4 will give me 3. Now I'm back down to this end right here. And notice how it has letters. Those are our variables. What this is saying, that is, if I have any number of quarts and I stick to the same scale factor or same rule of dividing by 4 or multiplying by 1/4, I'm going to get my gallons, no matter what. Now I have my constant ratio. My constant ratio is what I have that I am either dividing or multiplying to get to. So the constant ratio is basically what's going to be grafted. I said grafted. Sorry. Basically what we're going to graph. So our constant ratio wants it gallons to quarts. So on my first one, I have 0 gallons to 0 quarts. My second, I have 1 gallon to 4 quarts, 2 gallons to 8 quarts, 3 gallons to 12 quarts. My equation is basically this right here. But my equation can't be divide by 4 or multiply by 1/4. I have to pick one of them in order to make that one equation. So I'm going to have my Q. I'm going to put multiply by 1/4, and that's going to equal my gallons. Now under explain, I don't want explain, I want what's the scale factor. Well, my scale factor was multiplying by 1/4. And this is how you would fill out your graph. I'm sorry, your table. Now you're going to fill out your graph. We said that from gallons to quarts, it was 1 gallon to 4 quarts. I'm going to take the table that I had right here and I'm going to graph this, and then I'm going to graph this, because remember, I have to start with my X first and then I have to graph my Y. So on the first one, I'm going to go all the way over to 4, and I'm going to go up 1. And I'm going to have 1 right there. Oh, that is not the right one. That's the right one. And next, I'm going to go to my 8. And then I'm going to go up 2. And now what I'm going to do is try to see if I can't go from 12, which if you look at it, it only really goes up to 10. So I can't graph anymore. So I am done. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the relationship table and graph 2 and fill all of that out as well. So here we have the relationship 2 table, and this one is telling me to go to gallons to quarts. So if I have 0 gallons, I'm going to have 0 quarts. If I have 1 gallon, I'm going to have 4 quarts. 2 gallons is 8 quarts, and 3 gallons is 12 quarts. All I'm doing is switching my numbers. In relationship table 2, my X and my Y axis have been flipped from relationship table 1. Now I'm going from a smaller number to a bigger number, so I'm multiplying. So my scale factor is what I need to look for, or my process. If I go from 1 to 4, I'm multiplying by 4. If I do 2 times 4, that should give me 8. 3 times 4 will give me 12. So if I do any gallon times 4, I'm going to get my quarts. So my equation is any gallon times 4 will give me my quarts. Up here, no matter what my gallon is, even if it's a 0, I'm still multiplying by 4, but I'm not going to get anything, because anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Now I'm going to look at my constant ratio. My constant ratio is quarts to gallons. So I have 0 quarts to 0 gallons. I have 4 to 1, 8 to 2, and 12 to 3. Now here where it says to explain, what you're going to do is you're going to scratch that out. So you're going to scratch this out and you're going to put scale factor. So scratch this out and you're going to put scale factor. And my scale factor for this is times 4. Now I'm going to take my information and I'm going to graph it. So for every 4 quarts, I'm going to have 1 gallon. So this tells me that my x-axis is going to be gallons. So I'm going to start with 1 and then I'm going to go up 4 because this right here tells me my y-axis. Now I'm going to go over to 2 gallons and I should have 8 quarts. I'm going to go 3 gallons and try to go up 12 quarts, but I can't do that, so I'm done with this one. And that is how you fill it all out. So now you're going to take the rest of the class time and you're going to finish as much as you can for the rest of the activity tables. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and I will come over.